Welcome back to the more Sip2Tally Power Rankings. And today we're going to take a look at our second team that was tied for number 5. It is the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the Baltimore Ravens finished last year's preseason power rankings as the number 1 ranked team, but they've lost some parts to their team, so they've dropped down to number 5 this year. And let's go ahead and get it started with their quarterback room. They have the reigning MVP in Lamar Jackson, and he took all the snaps last year. So last year he was 307 completions for 457, 67.2% completion percentage, 3,678 yards, 24 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, a 102 passer rating, and a 64.7 QBR. Lamar was simply amazing, last year, especially down the stretch when it came to playing potential playoff teams in the other division, the Christmas game versus San Francisco, the Detroit Lions, the Miami Dolphins. He just was amazing in those games, and I think those games were the games that won him the MVP, even though there were some guys that had better stats than him. But he showed up in the big time games late in the season when the voters were to the point where, okay, it's time to cast our vote. Backups in that room: Josh Johnson, Devin Leary's a rookie. Josh Johnson is about 37, 38 years old, who's been around for a while. Devin Leary is a rookie out of Kentucky. All right, in the running back room, they added Derrick Henry, one of the premier backs in the NFL. Been doing it for a long time. Almost 30 years old. Will turn 30 during the season or as soon as the season's over with. Last year for Tennessee, they didn't have the greatest year, but he still had 1,000 yards, had 1,167 with 12 touchdowns. He also had 28 catches for 214 yards and 7 touchdowns. So that part of Derrick Henry's game I wasn't familiar with. Maybe we'll get to see him catch the ball at the backfield a little bit more this year. Maybe we won't, but we'll see. But definitely we know what he brings to the table as a runner. And found out yesterday that he spends a boatload of money on keeping his body in pristine shape. Not as much as LeBron, but a good deal of money. Also in that room is Justice Hill. Last year, Justice Hill had 387 yards, splitting reps with Gus Edwards. He also had 3 touchdowns, had 28 catches for 206 yards. And also in the backfield, who's actually hurt right now, is Keaton Mitchell. He had 397 yards in only 8 games, but the big number for Keaton Mitchell was 8.4 yards per carry. So the rookie Rasheen Ali will probably be in that role until Keaton Mitchell comes back from his injury. Going over to the wide receiver room. The number 1 receiver in that room is Zay Flowers. Had a great rookie season, 77 catches, 859 yards. Not a Puka rookie season, but still a great rookie season. Had 5 touchdowns. Also was a guy that could kind of do a little bit of everything. Could run your screen game, your quick stuff, your deep post, your over the middle stuff. He did a little bit of everything last year, but he had some mental snafus that kind of hurt them in the playoff game. But you live and you learn, young fella, and come back. And so the thing is, who's going to be the number 2s in that room? Last year, Rashad Bateman had issues or whatever, but he's considered the number 2. He had 32 catches, 367 yards. Nelson Aguilar had 35 catches, 381 yards. So he actually outperformed Rashad Bateman last year. They drafted a rookie, Devontae Walker from North Carolina, who's a speedster, who should help them, blow the top out of some defenses. Tylan Wallace is also there. He only had 1 catch, and they brought in Deontay Hardy. And I think Deontay Hardy is going to be the kickoff return guy to help with these no kickoff rules. Going to the tight end room. Pretty good tight end room, if I say so myself. Mark Andrews, Pro Bowler for the last 3 or 4 years. Last year got hurt with a drop hip tackle from one of the Cincinnati Bengals players, so he didn't play as many games, only played 10 games, but he had 45 catches, 544 yards, 6 touchdowns, and in his absence emerged Isaiah Likely. Isaiah Likely had 30 catches, 411 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And also, while Mark was out, Charlie Kolar was able to get in and get some reps. He had 7 catches, 87 yards, and a touchdown also. So I think they have 3 good tight ends in that room. It's one of the better tight end rooms in the NFL, 1 through 3. And Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews are a pretty good 1-2 duo at the tight end position. Let's talk about the guys that will be blocking for Lamar and Derrick Henry. They will be replacing 3 guys up front. Let's start with Ronnie Stanley. Ronnie Stanley, 68.1. Andrew Voorhees, who this will be his second year as a pro, but his rookie year on the field because he was hurt at the combine last year, so he didn't play at all. Tyler Linderbaum, who's the highest graded Ravens O lineman, 78.5, and probably one of the better centers in the league. Ben Cleveland, who got a few reps last year at right guard, he graded out 65.8. And then they drafted Roger Rosengarten from Washington. He is the projected starter, but he's in a battle with Daniel Falele for that right tackle position. So they replaced 3 new starters. They lost John Simpson, Kevin Zeitler, and Morgan Moses. So the O-line is going to be new. It's going to be new. But let's talk about the defense. And they're coming off winning the Triple Crown on defense. But they lost a lot over there too. So let's talk about what they got coming back on defense. We'll start with Justin Madubuike. Had a breakout year, 13 sacks, 56 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, and 33 QB hits. Kind of came out of nowhere. Had about 7 or 8 games straight with at least a half a sack. That kind of bumped his sack total up. Won a lot of one-on-ones. Was in position with the scheme that Mike had to get some one-on-one blocks with guards and won them. Took advantage of it. Also in that front is Michael Pierce. Had 1 sack, 42 tackles. Broderick Washington's also up there too. 2 sacks, 18 tackles. And you also think about Travis Jones in that mix too with those front 3. The edge guys, Odafe Owe, 5 sacks, 23 tackles. And Kyle Van Noy, who they re-signed, had his career best sack year last year with 9 sacks, 30 tackles. Those are your 2 edge guys coming back. Now, also in that room, they're hoping David Ojabo could contribute on the edge, but he hadn't done so just yet. Got to stay healthy. Going to the linebackers, they got to replace Patrick Queen, who moved on to Pittsburgh in free agency, but Roquan is back. 158 tackles, 1.5 sacks, 8 passes defended, an interception, and a forced fumble, 5 tackles for loss, and 5 QB hits. That's what you want out of your middle linebacker. Roquan's one of the better middle linebackers in the game. Top 2, and you can put him 1 or 2, whichever, however you see it. But it's him and Fred, and then everybody else as far as middle linebackers. Replacing Patrick Queen is Trent Simpson, who was on the team last year, had 13 tackles and 1 sack, 1 QB hit, 2 tackles for loss in a little bit of time he played in that Week 18 game versus Pittsburgh, if I'm not mistaken. But show flash, really good athlete. Hopefully he picked up the scheme because he's pretty much been the guy since PQ moved on, and they knew they were moving on from PQ. So hopefully he'll hit the ground ready to roll. The cornerback room, led by Brandon Stevens last year, 2 interceptions, 11 passes defended. Also in that room, Marlon Humphreys, who was a perennial Pro Bowler, but injuries are starting to catch up with him. He had 5 passes defended, 1 interception, 26 tackles, 4 assists, 1 TFL, and 1 QB hit. And then the nickel guy starting out with is Arthur Morlett. 1 interception, 5 PBUs. But they also drafted 2 young cornerbacks, one in the first round who's going to be in this rotation somewhere, and that's Nate Wiggins. I don't know if he's going to probably take over the nickel spot and they move Marlon to the nickel when he comes in or what, but Nate Wiggins will be in that rotation, that cornerback somewhere. And then going to safety, they got one of the better safety combinations in the NFL. Kyle Hamilton, who's probably the best safety, if not the second best safety. I think it's between him and Jesse Bates right now, and Wingfield. So it's between those 3 is the best safeties in the NFL. But when you have a good safety, it's a stat sheet stuffer. And these are Kyle's stats. 4 interceptions, 1 for a touchdown, 13 passes defended, a forced fumble, 3 sacks, 81 tackles, 10 TFLs, and 4 QB hits. That's a stat sheet stuffer for you for a safety. And he's standing 6'5". Kyle was everywhere. I mean, he made the defense go, and he was able to do so much with his versatility. Adding to that room, Marcus Williams. Now, Geno Stone had a bunch of interceptions last year, but people still fail to realize Geno was Marcus's backup. Geno was only in there because Marcus was hurt. Marcus, to me, is a better player than Geno. The numbers don't say it because Marcus only had 1 interception and 55 tackles. But to me, Marcus is a way better player than Geno, and Geno just happened to be the receiver of good fortune with those interceptions. But we'll see how it pans out, and I think we have one of the better safety rooms in the NFL. Let's take a look at each position, how I have them ranked, and you tell me if it's too high or too low, and whether you agree or not. So we'll start with the quarterback room. Quarterback room, I have them second, and I only have to do Lamar, just like when I did Josh Allen. Josh Allen took all the snaps, so I only had to really think about Josh Allen. But when I did Cincinnati, I was able to do both quarterbacks because when Joe Burrow went down, his backup played pretty good. So I was able to evaluate both those guys. But like Josh Allen and Lamar, they took all the snaps for the most part because Snoops, was out of there. So I just really had to evaluate Lamar. So it's second. Running back room, fourth. When you add Derrick Henry, receivers 23rd, tight end 9th, O-line 31st, D-line edge 7th, linebackers 20th, cornerbacks 14, and safeties number 1. When you add that all together, divided is 12.3333. And again, they're a tie for for fifth with the Vikings. And so that's why I have the Baltimore Ravens. You let me know if it's too high, too low. And again, they finished number 1 in this list last year. They've dropped down to number 5. And let's talk about the draft picks and see where they fit in the team this year. We talked about some already. So Nate Wiggins is going to be in the cornerback rotation somewhere. Roger Rosengarten is definitely going to be in that same mix, and if not the starter at right tackle. Adisa Isaac, who was drafted as the defensive end for Penn State, who's hurt right now. I'm not really sure how he's going to factor in that rotation, but he could get in there and be the 4th edge guy to play, maybe even the 5th edge guy, depending on what they do with Malik. Vontaze Walker is definitely going to be a factor in the wide receiver room with that speed, trying to blow the top off of defenses. TJ Tampa could be the 4th corner, especially if injuries start to pile up, because we've always had injuries to a corner at some spot. Rasheen Ali is going to be the 3rd back until Keaton Mitchell comes back from injury. So he'll play a big role in that run game early in the season, definitely. Devin Leary is the 3rd quarterback. Hopefully he won't see the field. Nick Samak was drafted from Michigan State, backup center. Hopefully he won't see the field. And Sanusi Kane, a safety from Purdue, could possibly see it, but they got some other guys on the team that I think will get out there before him, or Darius Washington, some other names out there. But Sanusi hopefully won't see the field, but he was a safety from Purdue. And that's the Baltimore Ravens, tie for your number 5 with the Minnesota Vikings. So you let me know if they're too high, too low, and what you think about this. And this is Coach Evans with another episode of the more Sip2Tally Power Rankings. We'll have number 4 Monday, number 3 Tuesday, and then 2 and 1 Wednesday, and we'll wrap this thing up Wednesday. So I appreciate y'all for being on this journey with me. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here with me. Like, comment, subscribe, share if you haven't done so already, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.